Go on, Henry, tell everyone what we're doing.
So we're doing that grand old tradition of sitting on a coach, going down to London to go on
See a football show?
No.
Football show?
Football show. That's because we're outside Leeds Playhouse. We're going down to a big pro-Palestinian Solidarity demonstration in that London. So we're very sleepy. And
6:30 in the morning.
Yeah, with a coach full of people,
Got here
placards,
on time,
banners, flags. I've got my flag.
an excellent packed lunch.
Do you know what my flag is?
A Palestinian flag.
Ding, 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 ding. Do you think other people will have Palestinian
I
flags
think
today?
they might, you know.
Okay.
I think they might.
So what's coming up on today's episode of the Vandal Factory podcast, Natalie?
Well, we've had a chat with Seth from Fold, who are an ambient, angry, political band from Leeds.
Talking about the industrial military complex.
And their latest song, which is called Forever War. We've got an amazing, very exciting interview with the incredible Mark Thomas.
Comedian, actor, writer,
Activist.
chatter.
Yeah,
This is good. And we'll play a couple of banging songs.
absolutely.
And we'll give you some updates from the protest when we're a little bit more awake.
Yeah.
We've had more tea and coffee inside us.
Yeah.
And warmed up a little
And a
bit.
little nap.
Little nap. Just a little nap.
Just a little nap.
Okay. Should we go into the Fold interview?
Okay.
Enjoy Fold.
Bye.
Hello, welcome to the podcast, Seth Mowshowitz, who is from Fold.
We first played a Fold track, or Henry first played a Fold track back on episode 15, which was our saddest episode, I think.
Yeah.
Called Defiantly Compassionate. Not because of Fold, that wasn't
Yeah.
why it was sad. But why don't you
Yeah,
tell us how did Fold come to be?
Whoa, I just wrote like a 3,000 word interview.
Just read that out.
Past week. I was like, I'm going to end up regurgitating a lot of it. I think I get a little verbose. I am neurodivergent. I don't have a diagnosis, but both my kids have autism diagnoses, and everyone I know is neurodivergent. I don't know what neurotypical people are actually like.
I've presumed that they all live down south because I've never met them.
It ties in, I guess. It kind of ties into my history. A lot of things went into it. I started in around 2011 ish. Like the idea came about after my son was born, which was in London in 2008, and I suddenly I hadn't been doing music all that much around that time. I've always done music, but when kids are born and trying to get stuff together in London is hard going. But I had even less time, so I was like, I gotta figure out a way to combine all this kind of political stuff I'm trying to do. And it's not like I don't want to be a politician. I don't want to, but I just feel like I have a responsibility to do something to help to make the world change for the better in some small way. And my only real talent is music, so it's kind of putting the two together. It was a born out of time constraints, really, I suppose. And I had already dabbled with, so I would just describe Fold. After 12 years, you'd think I'd finally be able to kind of describe it in one sentence. So we define our role as amplifying humanitarian perspectives and critical reflections on today's world. That's as succinct as I could put it. But it's I think it is in spirit a collective. I mean, it's really me. Like I'm kind of driving it, if you like, but we bring lots and lots and lots of people. That's why it's called Fold. It's kind of into the
Fold, like it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was like, just come and fold into the gang.
No one has ever said that. That's just like amazing. Go on,
it does
Seth.
have negative connotations too, because like when you fold, I give up, which is unfortunate, but that makes it kind of three-dimensional. We're all human.
Yeah.
But let's see. So yeah, so that's the kind of the role, and bringing as many people in to provide a really wide range of perspectives.
I was listening to your track To Be Hated and Thus Corrected, and it repeats that phrase, it really makes you listen and listen again and listen again. And it was felt like a meditation.
I believe that anger can be created. I'm not scared of the word hatred either, because I believe that there are things in this world to be hated and thus corrected. To be hated and thus corrected.
You use the phrase ambient anger,
Yeah.
which I think's beautiful way to describe it.
If you're going to win people over, if you're going to ask people to reflect on these things, you have to try different things. It can't just be the same. Nobody wants a whole album of being beaten over the head. These are difficult subjects that we're tackling, and it's about experimenting with just different ways to see what actually does work. But thinking in terms of like an album or dealing with different subjects in different ways, it ends up being, I guess, partly where I'm at the time and where we're at when we're writing and recording. It's in terms of the writing, it's mostly me, but it's always informed by us. When we get together, we talk about stuff, and a lot of those discussions inform the approach, and it's kind of where we're all at in our lives as well. I'm naturally not like a particularly angry or aggressive person. I'm really more kind of, I need to self-soothe. I need calm. I need, I have oversensitivities in various senses, sound particularly, which is why music affects me so much. The spiky sensory profile, it's the typical neurodivergent thing. Yeah, it's a way of, when I'm making that music, if it comes out really calm, chances are it's because I need something to help me calm down. So I'm channeling that in a weird way. Yeah, like with the new single, that was just it was really urgent that we responded in some way.
Okay,
so
your new single, please tell us about
nice
Forever
segue.
War. Yeah.
So so I made like an 18-minute video, like trying to explain, because these are really big issues, and these are hot topics, and if you put a foot wrong, there's a big risk in addressing this at all, full stop. Now, I do have a slight advantage there. I don't know if advantage is quite the right word, but because half of my extended family were wiped out in the Holocaust, so I'm half Jewish, if you like, and that was my father's side of the family. Both his mother and father, Polish and Belarusian, all wiped out, and it was only really my grandfather, and then later we found like one family member who'd survived the occupation of Poland. So it definitely inherited ancestral trauma, intergenerational trauma, and that affected me from an early age, like being aware of the horrors of war and carrying around a certain amount of grief and anguish. And I've known about the situation in Palestine for like, I don't know, at least 2 decades, like known extensively about it. There's no question in my mind that this is the Israeli apartheid regime is one of the most awful oppressors we've ever seen, and they're the only one. And I'm quoting the Israeli journalist Gideon Levy. This is the only oppressor we know of that's positioned itself as well as the victim. That's exactly how Israel positions itself, which is pretty unusual, especially for an occupation that's been going on for 70 years. But there's still, like, if you go on social media, you go and look at mainstream media now, they're still clinging on to this idea. Even across all of the main national press, still painting this narrative and just cannot break free of it. And I think this is the first time that I've ever seen in my life where it's at that such a huge amount of cognitive dissonance taking place right in front of you, and a massive backlash. I've never seen anything on this scale, and it's like the genocide is awful, and what's happening is deplorable. But if you're gonna pull out any kind of a silver lining, it's that this confrontation is finally taking place, and it was bound to explode somewhere. And I guess this is like an opportunity.
Forever. War. War.
The Western political establishment have exposed their moral depravity.
Forever. War.
They have weaponized the words human rights and democracy.
War.
They've weaponized these concepts against us to continue to support forever wars.
I've been looking at the military industrial complex. So taking a step back, it's hard not to get sucked into the outrage cycle with these things. So I had to take a moment and just go, okay, this is happening. Nobody wants this to happen. Nobody apparently wants this to happen other than the Israeli state and the US and the UK governments, it would seem. Why? When the vast majority of people do not want this to be occurring, why the hell is it still happening? It doesn't even look good it's terrible for Jewish people across the world because Jewish people are conflated with Israel, which is wrong. Obviously it could be the end of Palestine. Biden's not going to get reelected off the back of this. People are angry. He's lost people that the Democrats have never lost before. He's like, it's so bad. It's not good by any sane metric for any of the parties involved, apart from one in particular, which is the military industrial complex. They're making money hand over fist off of this, as they are from the Ukraine war, from all wars that are happening currently. Since Eisenhower warned about this in 1961. Through the First and Second World Wars, we've seen the development of I don't know if people are too familiar with this term, but it's the relationship between defense contractors, the Pentagon, and politicians, basically. It's that really, really close relationship. Eisenhower warned basically that if you let this power that this thing has begun to develop, if you left it unchecked, they would eventually produce vast, unnecessary amounts of arms and skew policy to sell them. And that's exactly what's happening. And to me, it's emblematic of the entire system that we live in. It's not just the military industrial complex. This is what's happening with all of the industrial complexes. It's big pharma, it's the fossil fuel industry. We've seen so this is the veil being lifted. We see this expression finally coming to light in these places. And that's the bit where I really want to point to that and go, look, this is absent from the mainstream discourse. Nobody's actually saying that the military industrial complex is generating huge profits from this. Nobody's saying it. I mean, of course, in the protest circles, they're saying it, but you don't see that written anywhere in The Guardian, or maybe tucked away on a back page. So that's for me, or for Fold rather, it's very difficult to make a song and say the word Israel and say the word Palestine and expect to get any kind of coverage, to get any kind of traction. It would just be thrown right out in the bin. If we started naming names, countries, even political parties, that we do try to stay away from that because it's just too toxic. It's too toxic. So instead we named defense companies because quite frankly, I've had enough. It's just somebody needs to say it.
There's also a normalization of that. It's just business, kid. That's the phrase that keeps coming to mind in my head, that there's
Same.
something that but it doesn't count if it's about money.
And it's across political parties and history. It's not who's in power in the government, it's who's profiting from the arms trade.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed, yes. And they've become so powerful. The military industrial complex, the fossil fuel industry, big pharma, they all are lobbying all the time. And they are skewing policy.
I like to think I'm a little bit clued up, but I've learned the names of so many arms manufacturers in the last few months who have been supplying weapons to the state of Israel, and now I'm like, okay, they're near Halifax, right? Teledyne in Yorkshire on my doorstep. Palantir have got contracts within the NHS, and so it's all a network, isn't it? That health workers are saying, hey, we don't actually want to work with a company that are causing a genocide in the Middle East that are involved in our health service. So, we'll unionize and organize and campaign against it.
We are being killed by people who don't feel. That is the problem. Forever.
Forever.
Forever. War.
All these wars represent are profits for the military industrial complex, for the executives at Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and Boeing.
Seth, could you tell us about the voice in Forever War? So where's it sampled from? Whose is it?
Okay, it's kind of a fun one. I mean, there's like 30 voices in the song, but you wouldn't know it because they're mostly just saying the words "forever" and "war." But there's loads of different people saying those words, sometimes together, sometimes apart. But the main one, the core narrative, if you like, is voiced by Mint Press CEO Manar Adley. I distilled the narrative in a particular way, but it's still part of the original narrative, if you like. I'm not twisting words or anything. Yeah, she runs this news company called Mint Press, and she just was I was monitoring all the responses across the whole kind of media spectrum, and that one video, it was so concise in its critique of the whole situation, and particularly of the military industrial complex. I was like, oh wow, okay. So I sent it around to the other guys, and they were all like, that's on point. We should definitely do something with that. I also really liked Gideon Levy because, being an Israeli journalist, he's one of the few voices coming out of Israel to really hit the nail on the head every single time.
And what does a rare Fold live gig look like?
The gigs are they're incredibly fun. They're also incredibly stressful. I'm kind of this, I don't know. I've got 3 MIDI controllers. My setup's over here. Could almost turn the computer to show you, but it's me like doing all this, so because it's drum, bass, and guitar, and I'm doing all the rest of this stuff. So it's incredibly challenging to do a full hour of that.
Wow.
But we love it. It is great. It's great crack. It's great crack.
Nice.
We love having it's just like having Malcolm X on stage with you. It's like a seance. It's this weird council of living and dead voices all floating through the room.
Get it in the diary.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you so much for chatting to us. We'll ask you the last question, which is, if you'd like us to play a song on the podcast, what track do you want the listeners to hear?
Yeah, I did think about this actually. It's going to be War Pigs by Black Sabbath, because that's the song that really influenced this song more than any other one. I'm a huge Sabbath fan. They've been with me since I was a kid, like really little, since I was about 5, I think I've been listening to Sabbath. And War Pigs is like, the thing about Sabbath is that they grew up in post-industrial Birmingham, which was all bombed during the war, and they were really poor. They were all working class lads, and they were working in factories, and so they were surrounded by all this like metallic industry shit, and they were also dealing with trauma. They grew up in this horribly traumatic world, and so their music is really a lot of the time about processing trauma and challenging the narratives of power.
girls gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses. Evil minds that plot destruction, sorcerer of death's construction. In the fields of bodies burning, as the war machine keeps turning. Death and hatred to mankind, poisoning their brainwashed minds. Oh Lord, yeah.
It's off to it we go. In London, dun 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 dun. Hi ho, hi ho, hi ho, hi ho.
Surely it's we're off to protest we go.
We are off to protest. We're in that London.
Hey, everything's big and
you've
expensive.
just heard an interview by Seth from Fold, and who was an absolute pleasure to chat to.
Yeah,
Wasn't he?
like he knows his stuff. Like,
Absolutely,
yeah.
so articulate. I've really noticed recently that I keep on saying absolutely.
Absolumon.
So I need to stop that.
So while we're heading to the demo start point, and we were sort of reflecting on, well, Natalie used to live in London at drama school, and I've come along to demos before, and I'm like, oh, that's where we got kettled, and that's where the fascists were.
All right, Henry, you're not dead hard. Make yourself sound like you're dead hard.
I am dead hard.
Right.
I am dead hard.
Listen to the bells.
The bell. Yeah, almost 100 days since Israel's invasion of Gaza. If you haven't checked it out, we did a Solidarity podcast special for Palestine where we spoke to Palestinian artists and activists.
We can every time there's a big national demo, and we're sort of, the coach has dropped us off about half an hour walk away from the start of a demo, so there's I love that feeling in a big demo when the bus has dropped us off like half an hour away, so we're all walking through the streets. And of course it's London, so there's thousands of people doing 1,000 different things, but there is also a sense of the people are gathering, they're coming, and you can kind of...
You clock a flag, you see a badge, people are moving the same direction.
Someone wearing high vis, and then in the distance you hear the drums are coming, the drums.
The people are getting angry.
Yeah. Let's go!
My name is Temina Alaf. I am from the Pro-Palestinian March group. We are currently selling our hoodies and our stickers that we made, handmade ourselves, from the graphic design to the printing work. We are here today because thousands of children have been dying for 75 years of occupation. We are extremely tired of seeing genocide take place all the time without people supporting and people taking care. At the end of the day, imagine if it was one of our children, what we would go through. And it's mostly about humanity at the end of the day. We believe in humanity. It's not about religion, it's about humanity. We are here for the kids, we are here for the mothers, we are here for all the fathers and grandparents that have been going through this for so many years. We are here to stand up and our voices to be heard. We are a brand new generation, and it's very important for us and our children, our futures, to realize what side of history we are on, and we will always stand by humanity no matter what race, religion, culture. It's about humanity.
And what are the main messages on the sticker books that you're selling today?
So the stickers are mostly to do with boycotting, as boycotting has been a movement for many years to help spread awareness and, hurt people's pockets at the end of the day. A lot of what happens in war and, political situations, it hurts their money. So we are here today to support the movement and help boycott. Our hoodies are made by us and designed by us, and the money goes towards families in Palestine that we have connections with. Obviously myself, we've got family there. A lot of the people that work with us and our team, they have family in Lebanon, Yemen, everywhere. So the money goes straight there, and it goes to the aid kits.
And if anyone wanted to check out your work and see, is there anywhere they can go to find you?
There is. Let me just get the Instagram. What's our Instagram page?
Gaza Activists.
Gaza Activists.
Gaza Activists.
Gaza Activists. Thank you so much, and thanks for the stickers. Have a good march. Hope it goes well.
End apartheid! Stop the genocide! Stop the genocide! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Decolonize! Decolonize! Rishi Sunak's a wasteman! Rishi Sunak's a wasteman! Rishi Sunak's a wasteman! Rishi Sunak's a wasteman!
Well, we just passed St. Paul's and the shadow of St. Paul's, maybe halfway through the march.
Yeah.
How are you doing? Our voice is maybe a little bit croakier than when we started.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm flagging a little bit. It's just the fatigue has started to kick in a little bit, but I'm all right. It's fun.
We've had some fun
time.
passing around a megaphone to different people and just
Get lots
sharing
of children,
it.
lots of young girls doing an amazing job with the microphone.
Yeah.
So good.
And there's so many different, I've seen Welsh flags,
Factions.
Celtic.
We walked with the Celtics we started with the Celtics. We were wedged in between the Celtics and the Queers for Palestine, which I was like, what a good gang.
Yeah. I've seen banners, footballers for Palestine, footballers against apartheid. So I think it's time for us to take a little breather from the demo and do another little interview.
Yeah, with a very special guest, right?
Yeah. So we spoke to our next guest, Mark Thomas, months ago when he was touring his show England and Son in the foyer of York Theatre Royal. Mark is a comedian who started in the red-hot heat of 1980s political comedy.
and he's a good egg.
He's a good egg.
A very funny man, a very smart man. And this show, England and Son, is not a stand-up comedy show or a political activist show, which is what you might come to expect from Mark Thomas. It is a fantastic piece of theatre. We were blown away by it. I would say it's one of the best pieces of theatre I've seen in years.
Theatre that absolutely punches your gut. We're passing McDonald's. Boo! McDonald's have been supporting the Israeli apartheid. So me and Natalie are sat here in York Theatre Royal's lovely 1960s reception area, and we're joined by Mark Thomas.
Hello.
How are you doing, Mark?
I'm good, thank you very much.
So you're here doing England and Son, which is it's a solo show, but it's not you being Mark Thomas. It's you doing a play. Yeah. What's that about? What's going on there?
I don't know. I think the thing is, I've reached that point. I'm 60. I just don't care about a career. I had one, and I couldn't really care about it now. Do you know what I mean? It's like I used to care about, would it be good to get a telly thing? Would it be good to do a radio thing? And now I just sort of think, I'm as interested in them as they are in me. I just don't care. So I kind of like the idea that we should use that creative bit in our descriptor, that we're creative artists, which means, trying out different things, doing different things, mucking about, finding new ways of doing things and challenging yourself. There's pointless sort of saying, I'm a creative artist, and then doing the same thing you always do. I think that's the worst aspect of stand-up, is when you first start getting good at it, people come along and go, that's great, I really like that, I want to see more, but it needs to be the same, but it needs to be different. And you go, well, do you want it?
And there's the pressure of things like Edinburgh Fringe and the tour of it's almost like an album cycle of like, what's the next thing?
That's but in some ways that's a good discipline. Do you know what I mean? Why, you need to have a kind of like, this is what I have to do. I have to meet this moment in time. I have to meet this deadline. I have to get it done. I'm not I'm not worried about that. I quite like a work ethic. I quite like the fact you go out and get work done. People who keep the same material, or look, people aren't going to hand you stuff. Do you know what I mean? So I'm quite a kind of get out there and create it. So this is great. I love doing the show. It's written.
How did it come about?
I met the playwright after seeing his previous play. I came out of the of the Roundabout Theatre in Summerhall in Edinburgh during the festival, having seen the political history of Smack and Crack, and I turned to my mate and went, that was amazing. And this voice behind me went, I wrote that. So that's how I met Ed, and we just became mates. I really love him. I properly love him. He's an amazing, wonderful human being. His life is far more interesting than other playwrights I've met. He's a fascinating human being. He's deeply kind, and I think that's I like that. And so Ed and I we always wanted to do stuff together. We always thought it'd be really great to do something together. Ed started working, you'll see in the show, Ed started, Ed was in prison for 3.5 years for drug-related offences. And he's a recovering addict in 10 years clean, and I'm 7 years sober. So one of the things we do together is do workshops with addicts in recovery, and it's all about, he teaches he teaches script writing and creative writing and film making, and I do storytelling and stand-up. And I completely love these session. I completely love them. I mean, some people have gone on rather brilliantly to get into film school, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is giving people the tools with which they can keep clean and sober, or giving some people some tools. You can't solve anyone's recovery for them, but you can certainly provide some supportive thing.
Navigate life, isn't it? It's just navigating relationships and talking and expressing and all that.
It's the fact that telling stories is an intrinsic part of recovery. You know, people tell their story over and over again. It's a really important part of sharing your story. You know, if you've ever been to any meetings, you'll know that there is a thing called the share, where everyone, you know, we have a main person who gets up and tells their story, and people take from it. People take, I know that bit, I recognise this bit, and you know, and it's actually a thing where we develop a way of just confronting our own shames, our own guilts, just so you actually have a chance to be truthful. And that's a really, really important part of recovery. So storytelling, and that is a really just part of it. But instead of going, we want you to cathart, we say, we want you to take something from your life and say that my life is brilliant and we can create something beautiful out of something shit. So we do it in Manchester. We do it at the Accept and Recovery Centre, which is in the shadow of Strange Ways, and we do it at the Phoenix Mill Community Rehab Centre. But we're doing stuff in Barlini Prison, and we're doing stuff in Milan, and we're in a prison there. So that's really exciting. That kind of work, sort of, I'll get a lot out of it. I'll get a lot. It's very meaningful for me. And so we started talking, me and Ed, about politics and upbringing and class and culture and all those sorts of things. And Ed goes, have you got an idea about what you want to do? And I said, I want you to write me a play about where the ghosts of all the migrants who've died in the Channel come and haunt Dover. And I thought that was a great idea. The play isn't about that at all. But that was the starting point. And so, but a lot of the play is informed by my experience, Ed's experience, but the experience of Ed being in jail, the experience of working with people in addiction.
Brilliant.
So that's where it came from.
I can't wait to see it. We're going to see it shortly. We don't want to take up too much of your time, but on our...
it's nice to see you.
Yeah, it's nice to see you too. One of our things that we regularly talk about on the podcast is hope and anger. So instead of starting and saying, how are you today? It's how's your hope, how's your anger? And we talk about those things being the fuel that keeps you going. And you can be honest, because sometimes hope and anger is low. But how is your hope and how's your anger?
Studs Terkel, who was the famous American journalist on the left and popular historian, he had a book called Hope Dies Last, which is a lovely title. Hope's a funny thing. I always remember people saying, is there any optimism in the West Bank? Did a lot of work out there. And I always used to go, no, there's not much optimism, but there's a lot of resistance. You know, people just like, we're not having this, you know, and it's a matter of dignity, it's a matter of...
Do you think it's a form of hope? Like, well, I don't know, maybe one could argue that there's to keep going, to be resistant, you need a fuel that keeps...
Resilience is absolutely remarkable. I remember talking to the bloke who's effectively the ambassador for Palestine, and he said, I have to accept that now is not that time, but it will be. You know, and actually he's completely right. You have to know. You can't just go, it's around the corner. You know, there are some left groups that go, we just need one more person on the rally and we'll have a revolution. It's just, oh, fuck.
I hate that conversation of like, well, after the revolution, I go, well, maybe we should talk about it now, rather than waiting for this thing that, you know, around the corner.
I mean, no, I don't want that. I want stuff now. I don't want, and it's not, I'm not talking about material stuff. I'm talking about rights, I'm talking about relationships, I'm talking about how we actually function as human beings, how we treat each other, how the state treats us, how those in power treat us. You know, these are important, practical, living things. You can't have this, after the revolution's everything perfect. Oh, take a running jump, you smug twat. The point about it is you can't, you know, this after the revolution, everything will be great. Well, after the revolution, you'll start making sense, mate. The whole point is that actually this is an active struggle. It's called the struggle. That's what it is. It's not we're all sitting around going, well, when all of us are ready, we'll start. Are you revolting today? No, I thought I'd put my feet up. Okay, well, maybe tomorrow. You know, it doesn't work like that. You know, I'm very much a believer in that. You fight, you struggle, you find space where you find it. You do what you can. My mate Nick, who's an exemplary activist said, you know, if you've only got room at the margins, fill the margins, you know, and, you know, make sure that you're ready, make sure, I mean, it's funny, things happen in cycles, things happen in waves, you know, people drop out of things and then they pop into things. Do you know what I mean? You see people who were in the Stop the City back in the sort of 80s who dropped out, who suddenly pop up in the poll tax movement. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like people come around and move around, you know, struggles come and go. At the moment, it's really important. When you say how's your hope and how's your anger, it depends how recently I just looked at the headlines. You know, I mean, I think that the incredible thing now is obviously that we have got this, I mean, Parliament's useless. It's absolutely useless. It's a bought democracy. It's denuded, it's defanged, it has nothing, it has no representative to us. It has, you know, a House of Lords, which is just pointless. It has been pointless for years. But a democracy whereby you can actually influence decisions through wealth, so that literal billionaires can donate and literally dictate, that you can rob people. So, I mean, the tax system in this country has effectively been a way of taxing the poor to give to the rich, and this is just absolutely outrageous. You've only got to look at, 14 billion quid's worth of, you know, corrupt PPE deals and the failure to investigate it. It is absolutely remarkable. You've got someone like Sunak who is prepared to sacrifice any sense of governance, science and decency for a green wedge, to drive a wedge, you know, and you just think, you vacuous, nasty, narcissistic, greedy, self-serving fuck. You know, this is these things. And the fact that Starmer, you know, wouldn't say boo to a goose. I want to produce gooses to see if he will fucking... Gooses, they're geese. I know that. But, you know.
Sorry, I didn't want to call you out there, Mark, on the geeseness.
Mate, I think we need to call each other out. We need to be honest about this.
It's Geesegate.
Yeah. Yeah, that was lovely. I love an alliterative thing. But I do think it's kind of like, Starmer's pointless. Why on earth would you vote for him? You know, this is him before he gets into power. And people are going, yeah, but wait till he gets into power. What's he going to do? Power. But name one example where people get into power and suddenly go, oh, I'm moving to the left. You know, it just...
Surprise! I tricked you all. You know. Let's nationalise it.
I don't have huge hope in Parliament. I think where we do have hope is where the fact that actually... communities are and have been really important. They're the bedrock of any kind of radical ideology. You know, so unions, lefties, anarchos, you know, the community groups. That's where you actually get the. And you can get it anywhere. I'm a big fan of AFC Wimbledon. AFC Wimbledon, as you may know, Wimbledon had our ground stolen from us. It was sold by the owners to property developers 20-odd years ago. Moved to Milton Keynes. FA approved the move. Franchise football. So local people said, we just want to build our own club. It's important to have someone to go on a Saturday, have a drink, see your mate, see some football, which is brilliant. But of course, football is more than the football. It's always about community. You know, it's always about communities coming together. It's always about... So we have a food bank collection. We have a, you know, drive for computers for school. We do disability access. We do sort of like... We have a sort of a gay and trans sort of like awareness. We have also... We won Community Club of the Year last year. And I'm very, very proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that actually, you know, this is about us as a community and raising our game, you know. And I love the fact that when I go there, there's, you know, just... all the old Herberts. I love it. Do you know what I mean?
It's definitely a silver lining to come out of COVID, of everyone, if you didn't already know how important your community was, you certainly did through those times and lockdown and your community spaces being and not having access to them, or your immediate community because that's where your prescriptions are coming from or whatever that. And I think that I can certainly see that there's some longevity in that's not been less. I think the communities in and around where we live, in East Leeds...
But Mark...
I mean, I have to say, I think one of the interesting things was people suddenly went, oh, the important people are the people who do the post and the railways and the buses and the deliveries. And, oh, OK, so, like, shop workers are important. And it's kind of, yeah. And it's kind of like... I always loved that old Robert Wyatt lyric. which is you say you're self-sufficient, but you don't dig your own coal, right? And it's always like, I'm a self-made man. Yeah, I got rich on hard work. Whose? You know.
It reminds me of and we'll ask you for a song in a sec, Mark. So I'll have a think. But it reminds me of a Wingnut Dishwashers Union song, who are an American folk punk. Well, it's one person screaming and shouting, right. And it's talking about what we said about revolution. Is the lyric is, they always ask me who'll do the dishes after the revolution. We do our own dishes now. We'll do our own dishes then. Like, well, who's gonna do all the jobs no one wants to do? Well, we're already doing them. So
maybe you'd like to join us?
Yeah. Mark, thank you so much for the chat. We know you've got to go and prepare get into a theatrical space.
You wanted to sing, didn't you? You said you were about a song. You said a song.
You can suggest a song. You can sing it if you want. Here we go.
Okay.
Just ask everyone to be quiet.
I'll tell you the story. What happened was I was working with my tour tech, who I love, who's called Teen, and we were out in New Zealand for the festival. We were part of the theatre festival there. And as part of the greeting, the Maori greeting ceremony takes place, and the festival encourages this Maori greeting. So, like, all the elders come out, all the community come out, and you're led into this hall. And it's amazing. This woman singing like in Whale Rider, and it's just brilliant. And you're led out, and the women walk up front, and then all the men walk behind you, and you walk behind it, and you're led into the hall, and then the women all sit at the back and the men sit at the front, and I'm like, ugh. And Teen is going, well, this isn't very good, isn't it? I've got to sit at the back and you've got to sit at the front. And then they say one member of each company will come forward and make a speech about what they hope to do here, why they're here, and then sing a song, because that's what you do in Maori culture. You explain through singing. And Teen was like, I'm sitting at the back. So I was sitting at the front, and I came forward and I said, oh, we're doing this show, it's about this, this and this and this. And they said, and I said, and this is the song that I'm going to sing here. And it was a song that I've kind of like loved. And me and my mates used to sing it. We used to work, I used to work in Cumbernauld for a short while with my mates. We were doing a show there. And I fell in love with Dick Gaughan, who's been very poorly recently, but he's sort of like, he's the McCoy. People turn up to his gigs to watch the tunings. Do you know what I mean? He's one of these guys. And he did this song, and it goes like this. Oh, come all you workers who toil night and day, who by hand or by brawn do earn your pay, who for centuries long past have earned more than your bread, and fought for your country and counted your dead. In the factories and shipyards, the dockyards and mine, we've always been told to keep up with the times. But our skills are not wanted, they've streamlined the job, and with slide rule and stopwatch our pride they do rob. Ah, but when the sky darkens and the prospect is war, who's given the gun and pushed to the fore, expected to die for the land of our birth, why we've never owned one handful of earth.
Mark, we've coming up to 20 episodes of the podcast, and you're the first person to sing their song recommendation.
Toil night and day, by hand and by brain, to earn your pay, who for centuries long past, for no more than your bread, have bled for your countries and counted your dead in the factories and mills, in the shipyards and mines. We've often been told to keep up with the times, but our skills are not needed. They've streamlined the job, and with slide rule and stopwatch our pride they'll rob die. But when the sky darkens and the prospect is war, who's given a gun and then pushed to the fore and expected to die for the land of our birth, though we've never owned one handful of earth.
And you can see Mark's show, England and Son, at the Old Woolen on the 25th of January. Absolutely, please go and check it out. Recommend it. Great venue as well. Well, we've made it to Trafalgar Square. We managed to catch a little bit of Jeremy Corbyn's speech. People are starting to disappear off to get their coaches and buses and trains and
you've just listened to Mark Thomas.
He was the first guest to sing their own song recommendation.
Yeah. And there's Christina. Hi. No, it's okay. Come on board, Christina.
So Christina's one of the directors of the Leeds Palestinian Film Festival. We've been having a little bit of a march together, haven't we?
Well, you say it's a march. It's actually, I found it was more of a dawdle. Because it was quite, I mean, in Leeds, we nip round, don't we? It's a proper march. You get your stomp on. Oh, we were standing around a lot. These London folk don't know how to stride out, do they? That's what they're always saying about Londoners. They're ever so slow.
500,000 people, that's the estimates.
I'd say it was, good 500,000, yeah.
How have you found the vibe?
Really good, some really good, kids getting involved in the chanting. Is that the right word?
I'm now committed to giving the megaphone to any small child. That's absolutely. It. Let them just have a bash at it for a bit. Sure. So we're going to play a little clip of another person we interviewed a little while ago called Marina Riyad, who is a Palestinian based in Texas and a comedian, and the full interview is up on wherever you get your podcasts, so we just thought we'd play a little clip just to wet your whistle. Go and check that out.
I think because I've experienced this for my entire existence, like I grew up under occupation, I grew up in a refugee camp in Palestine. I mean, in Palestine, like every single person that you know has either died, or for sure every person that you know, killed, martyred, but every other person that you know has been to the detention like camps. That's like the most normal part of life, right? So for me, I feel like comedy has helped me heal a lot of these things, and it's helping me face things, because what I tend to do is hide and not have to like talk about it or deal with it. I have to, because I'm an actress, the way I kind of see is like storytelling. I pick my beginning and end and how I want to what are the things I want to talk about. So every show I do, every set I do is really curated to what message I want to send to them. Like, what's my story today?
So here we are, weary, battle-hardened, heading back to the coach.
Post pint.
Yeah, we went for a cheeky pint, didn't we, Natalie? Yeah. Guess what I did in the toilets?
Oh, I don't want to guess what you did in the toilets. Do you put a sticker up?
I put a Free Palestine sticker up, mate.
And I like this part of a massive demo as well, where again we're like thrust out onto the streets of.
There's some people
London,
here at the bus stop with Palestinian flags.
You see the occasional badge or the occasional banner, and everyone looking a bit battle weary.
Yeah.
Whilst also walking past, glitzy musical.
Should we go and see Six the musical?
Savoy Theatre.
Oh.
No, I think we should go see Back to the Future, the musical, which we've just walked past.
So today hasn't been the only protest we've been on this month, the month of January 2024.
We've been on a smaller protest, significantly smaller, but no less mighty.
Yeah, half a million people marching in London.
At least.
70 people outside Crossgates Library.
Yeah.
So if you want to hear more about this demonstration and this campaign to save Crossgates Library from, selling closure cuts, we've released a special episode all about that. So check out more of the Vandal Factory podcast. Here's a little clip from that episode, but go check out the full thing if you want to hear the voices of people standing up for their community.
In a minute, we're going to ask
ask you, I don't need a megaphone. In a minute, we're going to ask everyone to get into little groups and have a go at making up your own chants. This is an opportunity to meet some people. One of the points in coming together is that we start talking to each other. We strengthen our network.
Save our buildings, save our books. Selling the library really sucks. So save our library, save our books.
Hello, I am at this protest, I think it's called, and I am protesting for the library because I remember when I was like really, really little, like nearly baby little. I don't know how I can remember this, but I used to go with my daddy to like these dad clubs, and I remember we had such a fun time reading books and having loads of activities, and I just want other people, other children to make memories too, like how I made memories with my daddy.
When I was little, I came from a big family and we didn't have very much money, and I was dead interested in electronics and radio, and we couldn't afford the books I needed to feed that interest. But the reference section here was just full of what I needed, and I was in every Saturday afternoon.
We are the main character. We are the page turner. We are the opening chapter. We are the greatest story ever told.
We are the greatest story ever told.
We are the bow of the Sherwood outlaw. We are the dagger you see. Oh, do you want to? We are the dagger that you see before you. We are the magic ring. We are the menace, the dodger. We are the minx. We are the greatest story ever told.
We are the greatest story ever told.
We're going to spill ink on the page. We're going to change the order of the chapters. We're not going to be a footnote. We are the greatest story ever told.
We are the greatest story ever told.
Give yourselves a round of applause.
Hello, my little Vandal Raptors. You've just listened to Henry doing his own thing and smashing out an amazing poem for the people of Crossgates who are desperately trying to save their historic building. So please go to Save Our Library Building, a Facebook group, and show your support for that cause. You find me in a tired mood. It's just me here at the moment, Nat, and I'm in bed. I don't think we've ever recorded a podcast from my bed, but here we are. It's Monday morning after the Saturday protest, and I'm a little bit broken. You will, if you've listened to our disability and art activism special, which was the last one we put out before 2024, our last one in 2023, I should say. You'll know that I have fibromyalgia and hypermobility, so big days like Saturday and going to London, getting up very early, standing around an awful lot, doing a very slow walk, kind of knocks it out of me. And I was all right yesterday. I thought I got away with it. Weird thing about this chronic fatigue and pain related issues, like they can be very unpredictable. I thought I was all right. And then I've woken up this morning feeling like I've been hit by a truck. So here we are. We started the podcast in a sleepy fashion and we're finishing it in a sleepy fashion. And I'm reflecting deeply on Saturday and the march and protests. I think sometimes, our mind and our bodies are intrinsically linked, and if your body is feeling weak and sore, then sometimes your mind can feel hopeless. So yeah, I am feeling a little bit deflated. I think, if I'm really honest, I was hoping for more numbers on the streets. I thought perhaps with it being 100 days of Israel's brutal attacks in Gaza and the West Bank, I thought perhaps with South Africa taking Israel to The Hague, to the biggest court in the world, I thought that might bring an extra crowd of people out but nonetheless, it is never a waste of time. I met someone the other day who said protests are a waste of time. They said protests don't work. They never achieve their goals. And in some regards, he's right, you know. Often they don't achieve their goals. However, is that the point? Do they shift the compass ever so slightly? Can they impact the narrative? Can they impact conversations? Can they show people that we are not going to accept what our leaders, our government, are currently doing? Yes, I think they absolutely do. And so I just wanted to let you know, like, a few really practical things I've been thinking about that happened in London. Like, firstly, you've got a long coach journey, so inevitably you end up chatting to a load of people. So Christina, who you heard on the podcast as the Palestinian Film Festival co-director, she's also really involved with Leeds' boycotting campaign. So she was telling me all about the campaign to boycott Teva, T-E-V-A, Farmer. And I've got a letter here in front of me that you can give to your pharmacy. If you have regular prescriptions, as I do, you can hand this over to your pharmacy and say, please don't prescribe me any of these drugs by these people. There are often alternatives. So it says, I write to ask you for support in not dispensing me medicines manufactured by Teva Pharmaceuticals. It profits from the illegal occupation of Palestine by trading with companies in illegal settlements and is, through its activities, providing work for those illegal settlers that have migrated from inside Israel into settlements based within the nation of Palestine. And so it goes on. She was also telling me about, we had a big conversation about arts organisations and how I can, and Henry as well, Vandal Factory, can reach out to our contacts in the arts and call for them to boycott HP and do so, you know, to sign a pledge and do so publicly, I think is really important. You know, you heard the young Palestinian woman who I bought the stickers off. Now, so that's a new artist that I've discovered. I've now followed her on Facebook. That little bit of money she will get to cover her costs, but also she was collecting for Palestinian medical care. So there's a donation there. Those stickers I will use to put about, shall we say. So it's a way of stopping someone from ignoring this issue, right? So you're just keeping these ideas, really powerful messages that are on these stickers, such as stop killing children, don't be complicit in genocide, those sorts of words and images. So that's a little like micro economy there, and times that by 500,000 people, you know, that's a lot of activity that's happening. We also came away, I was buzzing with ideas that we can bring back to the Leeds protests. So I'm now part of a wonderful group of people who've been organising the Saturday protests in Leeds city centre, and they've been doing an amazing job. But I think as time, unfortunately, like keeps going on and on and on, it's sort of inevitable that journalists, the public, well, some people in the public, kind of get used to this idea. They come a bit deaf to it, a bit blind to it. So I've got a lot of ideas about how we can make the Leeds protests a bit more performative, have more theatrical moments in them, and just try and make them seem a bit different. So we give journalists something to talk about, and we keep catching people's eyes and reaching out to different groups of people, keeping their attention on this issue, constantly reminding people that they have skin in this game I think a lot of people have said to me that, oh, it's just so awful, but I don't feel I can do anything. It's so hard to know what to do. So continually reminding people of what the actions are that you can take so that we are not complicit in this genocide. So just to leave you on some actions, I'll put something up on social media too, but if there's any artists in and around the Leeds area who want to get involved in some of the Saturday protests, get in touch with me quickly, now, do it. Don't worry about if you haven't done it before or you haven't, whatever. You don't have to be an expert, you don't have to be anything. Just if you want to be involved and you want to do your bit and lend your skill set to telling this story, which is what us artists do best, then please get in touch. Particularly musicians would be really useful, drummers would be really great, puppet makers. If anyone knows how to make a puppet bird, like a dove, that would be really awesome. Like singers, choirs, videographers, people who are really good at social media, like anything that you think, yeah, do you know what? I can spare a few hours on Saturday and get in touch with me and we'll see what we can come up with, because unfortunately, friends, I don't think this issue is going anywhere. So we need to keep going. We need to, as Mark Thomas said in this interview, we need to be resilient. And Lord knows the Palestinians are showing us the true meaning of resilience. So we owe it to them, if not for ourselves as well. Oh, and the final thing that I want to say is that when we were speaking to Seth from Fold, we forgot to mention that Fold are performing at the Old Woolen on the 21st of March, which is the same venue as Mark Thomas is performing his show. And that was just a coincidence. We didn't even realise that was happening when we set up the interview. So that is an awesome venue. And I've no doubt that if those two amazing things are going on there, there'll be loads more going on there. So you should definitely check out the Old Woolen for those that are in the Leeds area. I think that's enough chattering from a brain foggy old Nat. Don't think I've been too inarticulate. Henry will disagree. Let's end with a banger.
Hello Raptors, Henry here, just interrupting Natalie as per usual. So it turns out in her tired, poor old brain fog state that Natalie kept referring to the artist she wanted to play as Faye. The artist name is Raye, R-A-Y-E. But don't worry, I'm going to use all my editing skills to make it sound seamless so that she's referring to the correct artist.
An absolute banger that I came across. Bit of goss for you here, guys. On New Year's Eve, me and Henry and a couple of mates stayed in and sat on the sofa. Yeah, because we're wild and in our mid-30s. We ate cheese and watched Hootenanny. And whilst Hootenanny was playing, I fell in love. Like, this woman came onto stage, who was like the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. And then she started singing, and honestly, my jaw was on the floor. I couldn't get over how amazing she was. I was like, how has this angel not been in my life before? Turns out, now everyone's probably going to laugh at me now because probably she's really famous. But she is called
Raye.
Oh my goodness, what a voice. Amazing. And then Henry got very excited because he was like, she's got a song called Environmental Anxiety, and that's what you have. And I was like, no, I don't. I'm dead inside. But that doesn't stop it being a banger. So everyone needs to go check out
Raye.
Fall in love like I have and listen to Environmental Anxiety. Here it is. I love you. Goodbye.
How did you ever think? How did you ever think it wasn't bound to happen? You poison the waterfalls, set fire to our rivers of hope. The end of us all, well, it was always bound to happen. To happen. Sniffing coke, all the children are depressed, not the future we had hoped. Little girls aren't safe at home, she's scrolling up and down her phone. She hates her life, she hates herself, and she's 12 years old. These social apps are now our god since dopamine from likes and shares, and we find peace from drugs and sex and prescription anxiety, man. The truth under the rug, feed us plastic gym corpse. We don't need self-motivation, robots will take all our jobs. How did we ever think? How did we ever think it wasn't bound to happen? We poisoned the waterfalls and set fires to our rivers of hope. We're all gonna die, we do before it happens. It happens. Turn a blind eye when the drunk man falls. Did you ever think, why is a drunk man drunk? The system fails, 2 kids in jail, and the rich get rich and the rest get sung. Classist, sexist, racist, ableist, fascist, ageist, homophobic. Country leaders fucked our futures and they think we haven't noticed. Forest burning, oil spills, melting ice and methane gas, toxic waste and plastic fish. We're digging holes to hide our trash. Weeks in all our songs, but we drew borders across our lands. 1,000 years we've been at war. When the planet is dead, we will all hold hands. How did we ever think? How did we ever think it wasn't bound to happen? We poisoned the waterfalls and set fires to our rivers of hope. We're all gonna die, we do before it happens. It happens.
Attention citizens, please evacuate the country in an orderly fashion and leave behind any personal belongings that you don't need.